All right, we are cool. So
Live.
we are live back on our market update. I want to thank everybody for attending and thank everybody that has been here over the last couple of weeks as we've been doing these events. I'm Jeff Onofrio with Mortgage Possible. We have Mark McKenna, who's our usual person on this one, Mark from Pat McKenna Realtors, and we also have Benjamin Dash.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hey, guys.
Ben is our special guest this time. Ben is, for you guys who don't know who Ben is an attorney, and he's handled over 3,000 transactions in all areas of residential, both commercial, residential, short sales, chaired the bar for the County Bar Association, and been teaching continuing education to realtors for years. So we appreciate Ben jumping on with us.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. And real quick, just like we've done in the past, if anybody would like, and you would like to get a question to us, feel free to use the number below, which is going to be 609-554-1411. And if you have any questions that you'd like us to cover while we're here, we'll be happy to do that for you. So again, that number is 609-554-1411, and we'll run through those questions. This is being broadcast on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Periscope. So we're trying to monitor all of those. So thanks so much. So tell us what's been going on, guys. What's changed in the market since our last update?
Well, I'll start off and say that had another outstanding week. We put 9 deals under contract, my group, this week. A lot of different price points. Saw a little bit more sense of normalcy in the market with listing calls. I think we had 5 or 6 listing appointments this week, which was great because, as you can see from my conversation last week, that is the big problem right now, is lack of inventory. And the last week of the month is always a little stressful. Everything went off pretty well yesterday. I think we closed 7 yesterday. And 6 of the 7 went off really smooth. One got a little hairy because some shutters blew off on that windstorm. So some people got a little ornery at the end of the day yesterday, but that's how you fix things in real estate. So how about yourself, Ben?
Yeah, I'm actually seeing the same thing. I would say within the last 2 weeks, things have adjusted to the new normal, or at least the new normal for now. I'm seeing where people were, maybe a little scared a month ago with just how things were going to work and so forth. We've all figured out a way to make these transactions go. Buyers are definitely out there looking. We are maybe not quite as busy as we've normally been in spring market, but we are very, very busy, and we're getting new deals every day. And people are adjusted, and it's been great.
So Ben, with that being said, what do you see as far as how a buyer or a seller can protect themselves, or what they should be doing and putting in their contracts when it comes to this new norm that we talk about right now?
Sure. So, I've prepared a COVID-19 addendum that is not buyer or seller friendly. It's for the benefit of both parties because, frankly, with issues that we've seen come up with COVID-19 over the last month or so, it can affect the buyer, can affect the seller, it can affect sort of how the transaction goes. So we've drafted something we cut from cloth to sort of keep the transaction moving with an understanding that from time to time there may be a slight delay or hiccup in getting a search done or an appraiser in. All those things are happening, but it's allowing for loosening the reins a little bit on those time frames and allowing the parties to work in good faith with each other. And it's been extremely helpful. All parties are signing them without question and recognizing that it's everyone working in good faith together.
Nice. Cool.
Yep.
Good stuff. Mark, you had a couple questions about the closing process, right?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to Ben. I know Ben and I have been kind of ahead of the curve. Not that anybody knew that this was going to happen, but my sellers haven't been coming to closing for the last year and a half, and I know Ben's office practices the same thing.
Yeah.
We're real efficient in the process, so that hasn't been much of a curveball. But let's, Ben, talk about how you go through these things with your buyers now.
Sure.
When they're getting ready for closing, it's the day before. how do you work that now with buyers?
Yeah, no, and that's a great question. So, like you, we had end of the month, the last couple of days were really crazy. And so, the title agents and the lenders have really been working, bending over backwards to work together as a team more than ever. And we've been successful in getting lenders to send us a package when they send it to the title agent. And we've also, shared that obviously with our clients that are buying. And I've done through Zoom or through just straight telephone calls. I've reviewed the entire package with my clients that are purchasing day before or day of closing before they go to the title agency for a curbside closing. So we've reviewed the sheet together. They're fully familiar with the entire package.
Right.
They have no questions about the package by the time they get there. And so, when the title company brings them a clipboard with a stack of papers, they are, without any question or concern, they're signing papers. They're moving very, very quickly. I'm able to get through a package with plenty of time for them, but typically in about half an hour with Zoom or a call. And then they're doing their curbside closings are 15, 20 minutes to sign docs because they've already seen it and are familiar with it. So it really has become, as crazy as it seems, it's become pretty seamless, which is amazing that everybody's adapted that way.
Well, the one thing I noticed yesterday is one title company, I'm not obviously going to mention any names, who's notoriously slow with getting deals out. We had a 10 o'clock closing. They called me at 10:20 and say, "We're done. You can come pick your checks up." I was like, "Really?" I was like 11:30. So yeah, so that is definitely a great testimonial on what happens out there. And and I would think, you tell me if I'm wrong, that when you have a client and you're doing the Zoom technology and they love it, they feel like hey, this guy's really looking out for me. And they can take their time, answer the questions. Nobody's interrupting. It's a real personal kind of feel for them.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's actually, I found that my clients, the buyers, actually feel more comfortable this way because there's nobody in the room with them. And a lot of this really is very personal financial information. And now there's nobody there when they're asking questions. And I've actually found that they're asking me questions that typically I wouldn't hear or see in a traditional, conference room table type of closing.
They probably feel like they're asking a dumb question, and right. There's never a dumb question. So when they're with you, it's much more, and that's the way it should be. I've been saying that for years. That's a great point.
Yeah. What do you think about? I mean, the technology part of it, and the funny part of this whole thing is we've had Zoom and we've had these technologies for years now. I mean, literally years. The Zoom is not something that just came out, at COVID. I mean, it's been around for a while, and now it's just, there's nobody not using it, and it's being used for literally everything. I mean, initial conversations with clients and realtors and everybody is doing it this way. I mean, what do you think about that and where that takes us into the future too?
I'll tell you, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was asked to give a seminar in a real estate office by Zoom, and my answer, I'm embarrassed to say, was, "What's that?" And here we are about a month later, and I've done a number of seminars now for offices. And interestingly, I actually have more people than I would normally see in an office coming in on a Zoom call than I would when I'm there live. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, it's been. I'm hopeful actually that this stays as a way to conduct business. Yeah. It's always nice to have an eyeball live meeting with a client and a closing, but this is so much more efficient and people feel so much more comfortable, and even more, I'm able to communicate in a way that I couldn't before with clients, because now instead of jumping on a call when there's an issue, we'll jump on Zoom, and this just feels more Correct. Intimate than a phone where you can't see a person's face and know what they're really saying. And so I hope it stays. I really do, as a way to do business.
You're much more engaged on a Zoom call than you are on a phone call. You can't hide. Okay?
You can play solitaire.
I'm on the phone and I'm typing, email, checking stuff, and I'm like, "What'd you say?"
Yeah.
So I think what I have been saying is, a large portion of the day is chasing people around, trying to get answers and get things. And the email threads get so long and so confusing. So our new philosophy, I was talking to Lucy yesterday after closing, is let everybody Zoom call. Here's the time. Let's get to the bottom. No, we know where we got to be. Let's get it done.
Yep.
It's going to be no BS. You're there, and you call people out, like, in a nice fashion. But this is where we need to be. Is everybody in agreement? Yes. The call's recorded. You got it. And you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah. Well, it's efficiency, right? I mean, that's always been the biggest issue in the real estate market is been inefficiencies. And this is one of those things, and one of these simple technologies. I mean, obviously, I couldn't do it, but you know what I mean when I say simple. I mean, we just jump on and you go,
right?
And it's made it efficient. It's made it in a better process. So this is, if there's something good to come out of this, which we know we are going to come out of it. This is something that's going to be a positive.
Yeah, and we just last week passed remote online notarization last week, which some states have had prior to COVID-19. Not a lot, but some. Ours right now is in place for the time that the governor's order is in place. But it'll really be interesting to see whether or not I tend to think we will move in that direction. That it'll become a permanency because of the efficiencies. Yeah. We're able to get people together without the waiting and I'm lost, or all the stories we all hear when we're waiting for somebody to come to a closing, and we're all sort of sitting around making small talk. Right. I tend to think that we, as our screens look right now, this may be what a settlement looks like in the future, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Fine with me.
Yeah.
Well, and I always say this. Like last year, I did like 140 closings myself. If it's 2.5 hours, okay, that's 420 some hours, and everything should be done is just be dropped off and go. But we're so used to you need to be there. You don't need to be there. If you're good at what you do, everything's done ahead of time. Yep. And I love when people go, "That's it." Go, "That's it." My friend told me, "Well, your friend didn't deal with people who know what they're doing."
Right.
So that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. No, and we see with sellers that we represent for the last couple of years, Mark, much like you have, most sellers don't really want to go to a closing because at the end of the day, they're just looking at the top of somebody's head as they're signing papers and waiting for a check. So, we've continued essentially what we were doing before. The only difference now is where I used to bring clients in at their convenience to sign closing docs, week before closing. What we do now is we email all the conveyance documents, deed, and so forth to a mobile notary that we use. That notary will travel, and she's gloved, masked, the whole thing. Will travel to the seller's home wherever they are. She gets all the documents, and then she hand delivers everything to the title agency along with keys, and it's just been super efficient.
That's right.
It's just helped the whole process.
Guys, while we're talking, just as a heads up, I'm scrolling people's contact information below. So if you guys, anybody out there has a question for Ben, wants to talk, directly to him, in a discreet fashion or just in general, this is his office number below. Feel free to contact him. And at different times, I'll be pushing Mark's contact information out there and mine as well. So feel free to hit any of us up directly about anything, either on the buying, selling, financing side, or from a real estate attorney side as well. So whatever you guys need, we're here for you.
I want to jump in and say, from our call last week, I got a really funny phone call from one of my past clients. They're like, "Mark, we saw your Zoom call with Jeff last week, and an hour before that, we saw something on Realtor.com saying how this isn't a good time. You got to be careful what you're doing. And then you're telling me you have no inventory. Should we put the house up?" I'm like, "When should I come over?" So I went over the other day. I was there Tuesday afternoon. We signed the listing, and they're like, "Are you sure?" I go, "Believe me, there's nothing for sale." You mind if I bring that little screen up right now?
Yeah, please do. Let's show it.
So, I'm a numbers guy, and I like to see. I'm not a technology guy, so bear with me.
I got us there. Don't worry.
You got me there? Okay.
You just share your screen. We'll get you.
All right. Let me see if I can get this. All right. Can you see that?
Here it comes. Yep. We're adding it to the screen. Yep.
Okay. So what I wanted to point out. So this is the numbers, the market statistics from March of 2019. You can see my cursor down there. Okay, units listed 534. All right, and then you could see pendings 357. All right, you come up to March of 2020, units listed 414, units pended 366.
We're ahead.
There was 9 more properties sold. Now this market data that I pulled consists of what I call the M towns: Medford, Marlton, Mount Laurel, Morristown, Medford Lakes, and I threw Cherry Hill in there. Okay, so they're 5 towns that I work really hard. You can see that number is 366. Now April we just started, so that's why that number is a little low. But there's actually been 9 more pending properties, and with a lot less inventory, 120 less properties listed. I just think that that's amazing what you see. If you look at the monthly supply of inventory, okay, in March of 2019, there was an 8.3 month supply of inventory.
Wow.
Look at March of 2020. There's a 3.3 month supply of inventory. Okay, so anybody out there, anybody who's telling you that this is not the time to put your house up for sale, they have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, the numbers don't lie. And, you know, the one thing that I try, any realtor who's knowledgeable about the market knows their numbers. And I study them constantly. When you look at that stuff, I've never seen numbers that low. It's mind-boggling. Some towns, in Marlton, I broke that down yesterday. There's only 60 single-family homes that are active in all of Evesham. There's 16,000 residents. Okay, 60. Wow. So, and the monthly inventory supply is less than 3 months in Evesham. So
now's the time.
Yeah, it's a good time. And with that, Jeff, when you take inventory like that, let's talk about rates. Okay. Yeah. So another good week. You know, what's a 30-year conventional? You know, 700, and then we'll talk about what's an FHA.
Yeah. We rates have been trending down a little bit again. Not a significant drop, but definitely a drop. Last week we were at you know, on let's just say a 5% down conventional with you know, good credit. We were at 3 1/8 with a very like basically that was par. This week that same 3 1/8 is actually giving a credit back of about 30 basis points. So on a $250,000 loan, we're giving you $750 back at that 3 1/8. Last week at 2.99, that was costing us about a point. Now it's only costing us 45 basis points. That's a 60 basis point decrease from last week. And 2.875, which was costing about 1 1/4 last week, is now only costing about 75 basis points. So we're seeing some ridiculous rates right now.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, because I haven't heard, what's a 15-year at on a conventional?
15-year, we got 2.75 is basically giving a half point credit. 2.5, which was a little bit less than 1 last week, is now only costing 40 basis points. And you could actually get to 2.375, costing a little over a point right now on a 15-year refi.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
So I got a chuckle as you said how rates came down. I'm like, I mean,
I know.
How much further can that? Yeah. Honestly, if you're fortunate enough to still have your job, which a lot of people are, and you know, my slogan for my sales force this week is how fortunate we are to be able to work like yourselves through this thing right now that we're going through. You couldn't ask for better terms on that. And, you know, and I know we hit it on a little bit last week, but let's talk about look, people are concerned. There's a lot of rumors going out there. You know, when you see anything on Facebook is not real. So let's make sure we know that. You can get financing. Jeff, can you go below a 640 on an FHA? Yeah,
actually, you know, it's a great point, Mark, because I alluded to this last week. You know, the government has not changed one single rule. FHA, VA, all those rules are pretty much the same. Nothing's really changed. What we're seeing is lender overlays. So on a FHA or a VA, we can actually go down to a 500 credit score. And ironically, the pricing is not horrible either. I mean, just to give you an example, somebody with a 500 credit score from a 500 to a 580 right now on an FHA, you have to have 10% down, so there's a little bit more skin in the game. But that type of person right now would only be paying 3.74, and it would only cost them 80 basis points. So that's not bad for somebody in that position. But you start to drift up a little bit, and you get into that person who's got that 580 to 640. Last week that was 3.625, costing 1.25. Today it's only costing us about 50 basis points. That's about 75 basis point, to the good. That's happened from this week to last, from last week to this, I should say, other way around. So we're really, and then somebody with over a 640, you could be doing 3.125 with 0. You could do 2.75 with 75 basis points. So wow. Super competitive. And you know what the best part for that is, Mark, and for Ben, that's not just about getting a good rate, it's buying power. Your buying power as a buyer right now has never been stronger. So if you're going out to shop, this is when you want to do it. Jeff, what are the lending limits, FHA in Burlington and Camden County? Yeah, so the Fannie Mae lending limits are 510, I believe 400, and FHA, man, you're gonna catch me off guard here, Ben. I'm sorry. I believe it's 408, I believe. Okay. I'll have to look it up because I really don't remember. I'm sorry. You're good, man. No, it's all good. It's good for me to have it in front of us anyway. Yeah. But I'll look it up real quick just so I have it. Burlington. Sorry, it's been a while. All right.
No, it's okay.
So I had a deal blow up last week because somebody dipped below 640. Oh wow. And the deal blew up. So that's great. That's great information to know. Yeah.
Well, the one thing, not everybody's doing that right now.
Right.
So, I know he's picked up some overflow. I've had one or two situations that I ran into the same spot, and I tried to get him over to Jeff because I knew, in that situation, how quick from start to finish can you close one of them if your buyer's organized?
I actually helped a gentleman over in Philly that we closed about a week and a half ago, and they were at the point where, just like you were talking about, they were ready to go to closing. They had an appraisal, title, everything was ready to go. We closed that deal in 10 days. And it was a 588 credit score. So we actually had a better deal for them than what they were getting with the other lender anyway. So it actually worked out for them. But typically a couple of weeks max. I mean, we're motoring through things right now. We're on 24-hour turn times and that's another thing that's really important. One of the things that we do differently than other people is, we can do a pre-qualification where we look over their credit and see if it looks good. But we do it a process called true approval, which basically is TRU. And that's thoroughly reviewed and underwritten. So we underwrite every one of our people's debt. So it's already fully approved by an underwriter for credit, income, and assets. And we do that in 24 hours. So anybody who's going out shopping should be doing that, because then you have a real viable borrower that's already been through underwriting, and that puts the agents in a better spot instead of putting themselves in harm's way with what's going on with COVID. Yeah. So you're really just
I'm sorry. Okay. How many have you heard times about, well, we had the pre-qual, and a pre-qual today means absolutely nothing when it comes through, because you really, you got to screen a loan officer more than you have to, anybody anymore.
That's exactly right. Really. I've said it a million times. A pre-qual means something to me only if somebody can't get one. That's about it.
That's a good point. What do you guys see coming up? What do you think the next 30 days holds for us? I mean, I know we're doing this thing weekly so far, but what are you guys foreseeing here as the warm weather comes and New Jersey starting to open up? I mean, what do you think is going to happen here?
Ben, you can go first.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, we have people that have contacted us who are buyers. That for one reason or another, a deal fell apart. They're actively looking, and to Mark's point, inventory. I think if we can continue to get more inventory on the market, we're just in what I would call an adjusted spring market. Things are moving. I think things are going to continue to move up. Jeff, those rates you're just discussing are extraordinary. So to me, for anyone that's even thinking about buying now, they should be out there looking for it. And I think that, in the next month, as we continue to adjust, I think everybody in one way or another has learned how to adjust to this by now. And as we continue to do so, I just think that we're going to see more and more transactions happening. And listen, I've been pleasantly surprised. A month ago, 3 weeks ago, I was very concerned as to where the market could go, and now I really have done a 180 on that. And so I think with that, I think homeowners that are looking to list are going to become more confident. I think that the likelihood is most of the people who are unfortunately going to lose their job with this, I think that's probably happened for the most part. So I think that homeowners can feel a sense of confidence. The buyers that are properly pre-qualified, Jeff, as you've mentioned, people should feel confident in that. And so I think that as we continue to see all this, I think we're going to see more and more inventory come back on the market, particularly with the governor now starting to loosen the reins a little bit with how we can start to assimilate back into a sort of a normal society.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I totally agree. One thing that I see, even from our aspect, now we're kind of functioning a little better because, we were like a fire drill files that, my processor, my listing coordinator, everybody had files. So it was a lot of getting used to being unorganized for those first two weeks, which is difficult to get on the phone, do your prospecting, talk to people. I mean, I know this month of May is going to be designed to do one thing, and that is to list inventory. People are starting to get the message of what's going on out there. I think you're starting to see, to Ben's point, as the weather lightens up, it doesn't rain every day and it's 50 degrees and coming down sideways. I think people are going to feel a little bit more sense of normalcy out there. And, when we first started this, our first call, we always talked about you still have to be sensitive to everybody responds to this differently. So, on that call, you want me to come out? I'll have gloves. I'll have my mask on, everything you want me to do. Some people are like, nah, it's fine. I'm still taking precautions like you should. Realtors who are showing homes are taking precautions. So again, it's the new normal for a while, but the new normal is also people are buying houses at a pretty rapid pace. Multiple bids are still out there.
Yep.
And and I ran some statistics again, because I'm a numbers guy. In the first 4 months, we sold a house every 27 hours.
Wow.
For my group. So that's pretty good. We're over like 109 pending and closed already. So we need to continue that pace. We will continue that pace. And, I'd like to get it under 24 hours. I think that'll be fun to sell a house every 24 hours. But, for all home sellers and home buyers, because you get some people come in and they're like, this COVID-19 price is dropping 30%. I'm like, not until you see that inventory supply get over a year, you're not going to see prices dip. And that's a long ways away.
I agree. And I think to your credit, Mark, to your point, I've seen more deals in the last couple of weeks with multiple bidders, with best and finals, and then maybe since 2005 in that era. And I think that, again, this is something sellers ought to really wake up and look at and listen to. And that is there are a lot of buyers clamoring for property, and there's just not a lot of property for them to go after right now. It's just more indication that it's a great time to list, no doubt.
Yeah.
So Ben, one quick question on that. How could you, in a multiple bid situation, I always like to tell people, hey, if you can get an attorney prepared contract over to my seller, it's going to hold a lot of weight, because it takes the guessing game out of what's going on. Have you done a lot of that in the past? Yeah, we have, and there are a number of agents that I work with that prefer to do it that way. Negotiate the deal, draft a contract, send it out, and especially when you're on the buy side, it leaves the seller knows that they've got a firm deal when they get that contract, and they're not going to get a disapproval letter with an addendum and so forth. And so, I think it's a great strategy. I really do. Yeah, for some of the people that don't know, in New Jersey, we have an attorney review period. So there could be multiple bids. And as the person who gets it, as soon as they sign a contract, they send a cancellation letter. And when you're the buyer, if you get an attorney prepared and it's signed by the seller, you're locked in. That's your house. So that's a great strategy. You know, it's something Ben does. I would highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, and I think you know, Mark, and I've seen
Jeff,
this.
what do you think?
You have. I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Ben. You were saying something?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think, you know, Mark, I'm sure you've seen this a number of times where there is multiple bidding, and you know, somebody wins the bid and it goes in the contract, and the contract says seller agrees to take the property off the market, will accept no further offers, and it's right in the contract. It means nothing, unfortunately, because we have an attorney review period here. That contract has 3 business day attorney review. An attorney can cancel it and go back to the losing bidder and keep negotiating. So that attorney prepared contract takes all of that risk and all of that guesswork out altogether.
Awesome.
Correct.
Yeah.
Real quick, there's actually a couple of questions I found online here. I don't know, Ben, we got a question here from John.
Yep.
If you can see that or not. Can you read that?
Yep. How are you handling it?
So for the people, if anybody just happens to be listening to this and not watching this on the screen, the question is, Ben, how are you handling a deal that the COVID addendum language comes into play, but the seller of this deal is purchasing another property that will now be impacted by the unforeseen delays?
So I want to make sure I understand that. The seller now is purchasing, and maybe there's no COVID addendum on that one. That deals that don't have a COVID addendum run risks, and you know, during this time, nobody really that's alive right now has ever lived through something like this before. Yeah. And it's really difficult. One of the things that I always counsel my clients with is, hey, if this happens, this is the way the courts have generally looked at this issue. So I think, you know, if you want to go to the right, we can, and this is what's going to probably happen, and this is the risk. With COVID, we don't really have any backdrop. We haven't had a worldwide pandemic that's sometimes forced technical breaches of a contract. And it's going to be, it's a very difficult thing to negotiate around right now. And you know, what I've found myself saying over and over again to clients and potential clients that have called me with these issues is, at a certain point, we're going to have to hope and keep our fingers crossed that people are going to operate in good faith. You signed a contract. There is automatic in every contract a provision that says that the parties are required to act in good faith and deal fairly with one another. And with deals that started before COVID, where there are no COVID protections into the contract, we're gonna have to, at a certain point, hope the parties act reasonably. And if they don't, sooner or later, it's going to be in front of a judge potentially. And I always tell my clients, think about how we're going to respond when the judge looks at you and asks you a question. How are we going to respond to that? So, you know, I think if somebody's acting unreasonably one way or another, they're potentially going to have to answer to that and for that. And so, you know, John, I think with your question, one of the things I would be potentially looking for would be to get on your seller's purchase transaction would be to try to get the seller of that deal to agree to some COVID language. Because although, you know, as the three of us have been talking since it started, deals are moving, things are getting back to and have gotten back to normal largely, but there are absolutely still some hiccups that pop up. We've seen, you know, home inspectors for one reason or another don't want to go in today. They want to come next week because somebody's still at the end of their quarantine, whatever. You know, we can't get a surrogate search done. We can't get title, whatever the case may be. People are going to have to agree to act reasonably at the end of the day. And so, you know, that's the hope. And that's what I would try to do, would be to get a COVID addendum. And John, you know, please feel free to reach out to me afterwards. I'll be happy to share my addendum with you. Anybody else listening as well that wants it.
Good answer.
I would think that the judge would be pretty forgiving. If the IRS has given you an additional 90 days, I think the judge is going to help you out. So,
that's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Good point. To that point, and that's kind of a question maybe for Mark and for you, Ben. How are you guys seeing the CO process in some of the towns? You know, as far as COs and smoke, are they being able to get out the same way? Is the town functioning? Are they just doing temps? What are you guys seeing?
Mark, please.
So what we have seen is the majority of towns are making sellers fill out what they call seller affidavits. It's a sworn statement that your smoke detectors are working in accordance with the guidelines, which is typically carbon monoxide detector upstairs, smoke detector on each level. There's certain guidelines from when the house was built, what it has to have in it, if they're hardwired or not. I was just talking to Ben about this earlier on another transaction. Like Winslow has an exterior inspection, so we had to document with about 50 photographs and send them into the township. Medford has 2 inspections. They have a fire inspection and a sump pump inspection. For now, there's no sump pump inspection. They just do a seller's affidavit. So they've been working very well with homeowners. And there has been 1 or 2 towns that just said no COs right out of the gate. I think they changed their tune. They're not towns that I work in a lot, so I don't know, but I know 2 towns in Gloucester County just said no, we'll get to it afterwards. And then there's a couple of smaller boroughs that these guys are part-time. I mean, they work in multiple townships. They only do CO inspections like Tuesday and Thursday from 5 to 8. So they're the towns that I think it gets a little tougher to get that done. But overall, phenomenal job by the townships. Phenomenal job.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Good stuff. A lot of people just saying that they really enjoy this, and good stuff across the different social media platforms. Not as many questions as we normally get, so that's good. Maybe the updates are doing enough to keep people informed as to what's really going on. So I think that's a great sign. And then again, hopefully things continue to trend on the normalcy side again as things start to open back up. If you guys got any other last comments or anything you want to put out there to the general public?
Okay, Ben, you can start.
I was just going to say, number one, thank you very much for having me and allowing me to participate in this. I think this is just a great medium, a great idea. I give you guys a lot of credit for doing this, and I think it really does bring a lot of great information out to the public. So I'm really am pleased and proud to be a part of it. And if there's anybody out there, agents or buyers, sellers that that just have general questions I can help with, please feel free to reach out to me. We're here, we're available, and I'm happy to talk with whoever needs some help. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Jeff, thanks again. Another call we've done. Everyone has been, gets better and better. We've helped some people out from these calls. Some people you've got some applications. Yep. I've gotten a couple deals from it. They see we know what we're talking about. We're knowledgeable. We're in tune with what's happening. And, just a quick testimonial for Ben. I've been dealing with Ben, I don't know, 20 years now, 50, I can't remember. Yeah. He does an amazing job. Super knowledgeable. And, it's not like I can pick up the phone at any time, as long as I keep it short. And get answers from him. So he's one of the most knowledgeable real estate attorneys that I have seen in this market out there. So that's my quick testimonial for him. So yeah, we're looking forward to May. And anybody's any questions, you can visit us, call us on the number below, or jump on our website. And we're looking forward to having another bang up year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said earlier, guys, with the way the rates are and where things are at right now, your purchasing power has never been stronger. So if you're somebody out there who's thinking about buying or selling, now's the time to do it. You got your professional here on the real estate side, you got your attorney here, and you got your mortgage guy here. And I'll tell you right now, there's never been a better time. So I would highly recommend that you make those phone calls and get started. And we appreciate everybody watching this. And again, all the people that are on the front lines, we appreciate them as well. And yeah, we'll keep doing this. We'll keep bringing more professionals in and doing some different stuff.
If I say one thing, I want to give one plug. Okay. I think one of the frontline people that out there are the title clerks. They are doing an amazing job. They are stressed. They are, they're working hard because their processors aren't in their office. They are just doing an amazing job. I see they're in at 8 o'clock. I was over at Shore this morning. There was a girl. She goes, I didn't get done until 9 o'clock last night. you know, and I just want to say that they're part of that front line. They're doing an awesome job.
You hit the nail on the head. I couldn't agree more. I mean, it really has been amazing. And, you know, what they've had to go through behind the scenes, just in trying to deal with notarizing documents until you know, the legislation just came down a few days ago. You hit the nail on the head. They are killing it, and they're really working under stress. So, yeah, I agree 100%.
Big time.
I think they're going to do it for another 2 weeks, so we got to fix this thing.
That's great. Guys, yeah, really appreciate it. Thanks for taking your time. You know, you're giving great information. So let's keep it going and keep everything positive, and we'll catch back with everybody next week. On Tuesday, I'm actually going to be doing another one of these with Dan Mayer from Appraisal Links. So whether if you're a realtor or client, buyer, seller, you want to watch that, because if you have questions, we want you to be able to answer those questions. Dan's really good and really understands the entire process. And as we all know, that's one of the biggest changes right now is the appraisal process and what's going on with that. So I think that would be great to get him on here and talk to him about what we got going on. But other than that, I guess have a great weekend, and we appreciate you guys.
What time is that?
We're going to do Tuesday at 12 o'clock. Keep the 12 o'clock slot open. Right. So we're going to get you on there as well. Okay. Yep. Right. Sounds good, guys. All right. Well,
all right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.